Hey guys, and welcome back to the HellfireComms Ghiblithon. We got a pretty big one to show you all today, not just in terms of video length. This is prime Ghibli right here. We're going to be taking a look at Princess Mononoke. And when people think of Ghibli, they think of, you know, your Howl's Moving Castles, your Totoros, your Spirited Aways, but also of this film. So I'm very interested to see how it plays out. I know it's all about, Japanese folklore and demons, and I have a smidgen of experience with that through certain things like Okami, which Rich and I did a playthrough of. I've seen a bit of Inuyasha, but let's see if we can actually get through this. So everything you guys need to sync up our commentary to whatever video file you're using can be found in the video description. Check that out if you're, confused on how to do it. Otherwise, we're going to get right on into it in 3, 2, 1. Okie Princess Mononoke originally came out in 1997. Weren't there, originally 2 titles for this movie, Rich?
Yes. So, I'm still trying to figure out where the damn thing is, because I know that I've read the piece of information that tells me exactly the information regarding it, but for some bizarre reason, it has vanished from my lovely Wikipedia pages. But basically, I believe that Hayao Miyazaki wanted one name, and the producer, Toshio Suzuki, wanted another. Toshio Suzuki really wanted to have Princess Mononoke, and Hayao Miyazaki wanted something along the lines of Legend of Ashitaka, because the lead character for the film is called Ashitaka. And to create that name, he had to use up create a brand new kanji, and so Suzuki was just like, let's just go with the title that you don't have to do that for. And to be fair, I'm very glad that they did do that, because I think it's the much better name for the film.
Yeah, I'd agree, yeah. This is going to be one of the more serious Ghibli films, I can already tell.
Yes, I would say that on the grand scheme of things, it is easily the darkest of the Ghibli films. Obviously, you have Grave of the Fireflies, which is incredibly depressing and dark in that sense, but Princess Mononoke has a lot of blood and gore and has limbs being severed. It's really quite serious and dramatic. From what I can tell, the reason for that is in part due to everything that happened post Porco Rosso. Miyazaki began writing the film's plotline and drew initial storyboards in August of 1994, when I would have only been a few months old.
Aww.
But he had difficulties adapting his early ideas and visualizations, because elements of it had already been used in My Neighbor Totoro, and since there'd been societal changes since he'd originally created those original sketches and image board in the late 1970s. I think he'd had a bit of writer's block that prompted him to accept a request for the creation of the On Your Mark promotional music video for the Chage and Asuka song of the same title.
Okay.
And ultimately that diversion helped Miyazaki return for a fresh start when it came to Princess Mononoke. I think because of obviously all this war stuff that had happened in Yugoslavia that affected Porco Rosso, Miyazaki had it in his head that really kids couldn't quite manage to comprehend why adults were sad if you were presenting films like My Neighbor Totoro that were obviously very happy and kid-friendly. And I think Miyazaki wanted to make this shift to a more adult, mature film to kind of say, these are the emotions of the time in a way. And I would say that it works very well, because Princess Mononoke does the phenomenal thing of presenting an argument to do with environmentalism, which is obviously common throughout so much of Ghibli, but presents pretty much all sides of that argument, and does it in a way that's clever and mature, and I just think that's brilliant. But in the meantime, we're getting attacked by demon, snake, worm things.
Huh. That looked like very fluid animation, almost too fluid to be like hand drawn. Is that CGI?
Yes, it is. Now, I don't know whether Princess Mononoke is the first Ghibli film to feature that, but it's certainly one of the first to really deal with that, because it is mostly hand drawn, but it does incorporate elements of computer animation.
Yeah.
Specifically for 5 minutes of footage throughout the film, and then there's a further 10 minutes used for digital paint, which would then be used in all subsequent Ghibli films. The idea, obviously, is to blend in the CG stuff with the traditional hand-drawn animation, and make it so that they look and feel the same.
Yeah.
And this is always the type of CG I appreciate in animated stuff, because you look at it and you think, this does not look out of place within the hand-drawn world, and that's always when it's best, because you don't look at it and just think, well, that's clearly CGI.
Well, even if you did feel that, I don't think it would be a bad thing here, because this thing is very clearly meant to be not human. So the uncanny valley nature of it would actually benefit it, really. And also, did I hear Ashitaka? Was he like slightly deferential to this thing? Is it meant to be a god or something trapped in corruption?
Well, yes, this demon god did used to be a god called Nago, and he was a boar god, but something has happened to him, and he's been viciously corrupted by anger and rage and pain to go into this weird, demonic worm snake monster thing.
Ach, gnaw me arm. I'll never archer again.
Well, certainly not with that arm, you won't.
Kind of reminiscent of Shadow of the Colossus, I'm not gonna lie. Just the way the boar fell over, obviously the black tendrils, the way Ashitaka aimed his bow kind of reminds me of when you fight Dirge, the snake and whatnot.
Yeah, would not surprise me at all if this film were an influence on Shadow of the Colossus, because obviously big part of Studio Ghibli's history, and also a massive part in the history of Japanese film, because when it came out, it was the highest grossing film of all time in Japan in 1997, and it remained so until Titanic took its crown later that year. But, I mean, to be honest, can you really face the juggernaut that is Titanic? No, you can't.
Yeah. Ironically, Titanic did not sink at the box office, but Tish.
Exactly. And Princess Mononoke held the box office record for Japanese-made films until Spirited Away then took the throne.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I feel that is fitting, because Spirited Away is the film that is commonly seen as Hayao Miyazaki's masterwork. I appreciate its filmic brilliance, but I would say that I actually prefer Howl's Moving Castle as a film.
Now, that's funny, because I've only seen, I would say, 2/3 of that film, funnily enough. Like, I was having a movie night with someone, and I guess we turned it off before we finished, because I don't think we got bored. I think we just decided to do other stuff, so I'm looking forward to that one, because you say that's your favourite, correct?
Yes, that is indeed my favourite. I will hopefully have a slightly more accurate explanation as to why it's my favourite when we actually get to it, but we'll see. It might just be one of those weird things of, it just feels deep down in my gut that it's my favourite. Because, I mean, it's the same. I have a slightly more decent explanation of why I do really like Princess Mononoke, and it has a very important place in my life, because ultimately this is the film that got me started on watching anime.
Oh.
Because obviously, as a child, I had seen Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and stuff, but I was a child, so I didn't necessarily have in my head, this is a Japanese animated thing. It was just like, this is on Cartoon Network, it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
So I just didn't have that process in my head, but when I started senior school, I joined the anime club that was there, and the first film that we watched was Princess Mononoke, and I saw it and I just thought, this is brilliant and so different to what I've seen everywhere else. And that spurred me then on to get all of the rest of the Ghibli collection, and I've basically really loved anime ever since.
Aw.
So yeah, Princess Mononoke is very important to me.
So he has to leave the village because he's corrupted?
Yeah, it's like the biggest middle finger ever, isn't it? It's like, I just saved you from getting completely decimated by a demon boar god, unfortunately got hurt in the process, and now you're kicking me out because I got hurt in the process, so I can't stay. What?
What, are they worried he'll become like the demon boar god?
I think that's the gist of it. I think the other reason is that obviously it's a very superstitious village, because you've got the wise woman, you've got the elders, they've got their own traditions, and that kind of freaks them out.
Mm-hmm. So who is our protagonist voiced by? Maybe we might as well do these one at a time, so we're not just dumping voice lore on people.
So Ashitaka is voiced by Billy Crudup, who he's mostly well known for his theatre work. I mean, he's been nominated for a Tony Award 4 times, and won for his role in Tom Stoppard's The Coast of Utopia in 2007. But in terms of film, I think people would most recognise him from Without Limits, Dedication, and also appearing in the Justice League film that just came out as Dr. Henry Allen.
Interesting.
He's been in various other things as well, but what's quite nice is that there's a little quote from Billy Crudup in the Wikipedia page, stating, I think, part of the reason why he took the role, and it's because he liked that Ashitaka is an unexpected hero. He's not your usual wild, brave guy. He's really just a young, earnest man who's trying to lead a valuable life and protect his village. And that leads him to do so much good in the world. And just, oh my god, this shot!
Oh, hashtag iconic.
Yes. And I mean, with that beautiful score by Joe Hisaishi, once again, it's just beautiful.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, you say Ghibli is influential. I'm seeing elements of, like, Twilight Princess with, like, the elk and whatnot. I'm seeing a bit of Breath of the Wild. Maybe even a bit of Samurai Jack with just the long stretches of crossing various terrain and whatnot.
Yeah, once again, would not surprise me. Princess Mononoke is, once again, it's another of those really influential films in Japanese animation culture.
There are various points in this film where we're just going to be sitting back and watching, by the way, because it's a 2 hours and 13 epic, and your boy NTom's already done about 4 retakes on this and he doesn't want to do any more.
Yep. Well, thankfully, we've got violence happening right now, so it's a little bit of engaging content rather than just beautiful sit back and watch the lovely scenery. It's like if we tried to, make it through Lord of the Rings, which at some point we may try and do.
Oh, yeah.
And just going through, this is another travelling sequence. Yay!
Oh my god!
Yes! As I said, this film can get really, really dark.
That sounded like either Jim Cummings or John DiMaggio back there.
Would not surprise me. I mean, I know for a fact that John DiMaggio is in this film. We haven't met his primary character yet, but we will do.
Huh. How fast was that arrow going to literally cleave both of that dude's arms off?
Well, let's just say demon arm-powered bow shot, so that basically explains that one.
Jeez. Interesting how there's no blood in these shots.
Well, you see that they're saving that.
And now we go from clash, violence, to a more quiet scene. Ghibli loves to juxtapose these kind of scenes.
And it's the best way to do a film, really.
Yeah.
Because if you just go bulletigate with action sequences, you kind of can't breathe. And your brain just goes, this is too much. And your brain starts to shut down. Whereas if you have that rise and fall of moments, then you get a bit of breathing space, you can relax into the flow with things, and then excite yourself when the next big set piece occurs.
I mean, to be fair, you can have films like Crank, which are just balls to the walls from beginning to end, and believe me, Crank is a great film. Never saw the sequel, but the original is great.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've also got things like Mad Max Fury Road, which for the most part is just wall-to-wall car carnage, and it's brilliant, but even that film has moments where it just slows down a little bit, gives you a bit of peace and quiet before it just goes absolutely bonkers.
Okay, so I guess it was real gold. And we have a sidekick character, Richie?
Of sorts, I suppose. I wouldn't necessarily call him a sidekick, but he is a sort of friend that Ashitaka will make. He's called Jigo, and he's a monk and a mercenary, who is voiced by Billy Bob Thornton.
Ah, how about that?
And yeah, Jigo is a very complicated character, but really, most of the primary characters in Princess Mononoke are complicated.
Yeah, just that type of movie, I suppose. And going back to what you said about Hayao Miyazaki wanting to do a more adult-oriented film, I'm kind of glad they decided to, because Ghibli, to me, is a bit more of a diverse version of Disney. Like, Disney, even its darkest film, like Hunchback, has the gargoyles, so there's a family-friendly element. This seems to make no compunctions about being exactly who it is, like, intended for.
Oh, yes.
Like, there's no comic relief character. Like, even this dude is a drunk, He's not exactly funny.
Oh,
He's just there to juxtapose Ashitaka, I suppose.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you've got Ashitaka, who is he's not your full-on typical anime protagonist, but obviously he is young, male, very good with a bow and arrow, and honest, and a good man, and inexperienced, I suppose, in the ways of the outside world, whereas you've got this guy who is a drunkard, very experienced in the ways of the world, and kind of, in a way, the complete opposite to Ashitaka, but because they're opposites, they sort of get to bond, which works quite nicely, I feel.
Sorry for calling him Ashitaka, by the way. I honestly thought that was his name for a second.
It's fine, and Japanese words coming out of the voices of, well, the mouths of English speakers can sometimes get horrifically butchered. It's just the way it is.
Huh. Just goes right back to eating after touching a ball of iron. Maybe it could have been corrupted itself. Maybe your intestines are corrupted now.
I know, it's just like, pick it up with your chopsticks and then eat with it. Oh, just no. That's pretty much my worst nightmare, because you might have been able to guess by the way that I talk about things. I'm a bit of a clean freak. Sometimes that sort of stuff would just, oh god, no, it'd drive me potty.
Are we going to segue to another beautiful vista? We are.
Oh, hell yes! And I think we are very close, actually, to getting our first glimpse of the titular Princess Mononoke.
I was gonna say, maybe Legend of Ashitaka would have been more appropriate.
Perhaps, but Princess Mononoke fits much better into the overarching themes of the film, because the word Mononoke isn't a name, it's a word, and it stands for either spirit or monster. And considering the potential duality of the gods in this world that is presented in Princess Mononoke, I feel that that duality is very, very fitting.
That voice sounded very familiar. Who is this then, Rich?
Well, that is the Lady Eboshi, who is voiced by Minnie Driver.
Oh, Jane from Tarzan.
Yes, exactly. Obviously, she's been in many, many, many other things, but that is certainly the one role that I would recognise her from.
Let's see. A little girl, question mark, riding a white wolf. Wonder who this could be.
I wonder, could it be the titular character that, I was just mentioning we were going to see any moment now? Oh, I don't know.
Also, I say little girl, maybe that's just the scale versus the wolves who are actually quite large.
Yeah, it's definitely the scale, because these wolves are gigantic.
Oh, can't wait to see that. I think I've seen a fair few giant wolves in my time, mostly in like Dark Souls and whatnot.
Wait, I mean, big wolves are always great, so they do feature quite a lot in mythology. But obviously, I have like I love wolves in Japanese mythology, because obviously it's what led us to Army in Okami, and therefore, give me a white wolf in anything Japanese related, I'm going to go, oh, it's Army! I love you already.
I wouldn't say it's a white wolf, but in Norse mythology you have Fenrir, obviously.
Yes. I mean, Fenrir is, I think, more of a grey wolf than anything, but he's pretty awesome as well, just in a very different manner, shall we say.
Richie, give me a 5-word review on Thor Ragnarok, please. No spoilers.
Absolutely brilliant, funny, engaging, awesome.
Nice. I guess it would be hard to beat the first two Thor films in terms of, enjoyment, because I like Thor 1. I'll even go against the grain and say I like Thor 2. But,
yeah.
I don't know. I think if Guardians 3 is good, that might be the most consistent, trilogy of Marvel films in the cinematic universe, because Iron Man 1 is fantastic, 2 is not so.
Yes.
3's an oddball. It's directed by Shane Black, and I'm not really sure how to classify it, but I remember enjoying it.
Well, I would say that Iron Man 3 is pretty good in the grand scheme of things. I really enjoyed it when I first saw it.
Oh, there she is.
Yes! We're going to get the iconic imagery that you see on pretty much all of the box art ever for Princess Mononoke.
Oh my god. That is kind of startling, actually.
And you know how you're saying, oh, I don't see much blood. There's your blood.
Thank you, Richie.
Yeah, they were just saving it for that image.
No answer. She's very standoffish for a princess.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily call her a full-on princess, really. It's more of an idea calling her a princess, but the other thing is, obviously, they've just faced a bunch of humans who tried to murder them. So, you're not exactly going to be the most welcoming to a random bloke who's just turned up and just gone, can you lead me to the forest spirit, please?
Oh.
Yes, this thing is so cute!
Kind of reminds me of a gyroid.
Yes. I think that is... I think they sort of come from the same idea, in a way. They also, I think, come from the same root as the Koroks and the Kokiri in The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
it's that whole thing of little spirits of the forest, and obviously they're so common in Japanese mythology, but I do really like the ones here because they're slightly creepy, but they're all really adorable and just pretty awesome.
Well, spirits should be, I think, neither good nor bad. They just are, really. Like,
Yes.
they'll be nice to you if you treat them with respect. If you disrespect them, they'll fucking kill you. That's exactly what a spirit should be, because they're the real guardians of the land. Spirit philosophy with NTom. Oh, we've got a long way to go yet, folks.
Yeah, I mean, with I said I was only going to do it during the delightful slog of what film was it that was ludicrously long? Was it Only Yesterday?
I think it was only yesterday, and speaking of, I finished editing that yesterday, ironically.
Oh, it was like it was only yesterday.
Yeah! Fucking nailed it!
I think there was another film that was slow and... Oh, it's Pompoko. That was it, where I was going. And we're only about half an hour into this 2-hour film. It's about the same marker, but I would say that so far we've already had a lot more engaging content in Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, I've been trying to wean Richie off some of his commentary faux pas, such as rambling and counting the time. That's for the audience, not us. We're meant to be entertaining them.
Yeah, but then also you've got the whole thing of I'm just a rambler. That's what I do.
I'll go get lost in a field, why don't you?
I mean, I can go try and find a field right now if you'd like, but I don't think we'd really get very far in the commentary, if you ask me.
Just take a Wi-Fi receiver with you. We'll do this on the road, it's fun. I mean, in many ways, it would be, appropriate for a film dealing with nature. It's like, where are you, Richie? Oh, I'm in the middle of a forest right now. You see any giant wolves? I saw a badger. That's kind of the same thing.
Well, I mean, funny story. The area of the country where I live, in Old English, it means badger place.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the joke becomes too real, and now I'm a little bit disconcerted. Can we go back to the spirits, please?
Well, I mean, we've kind of slightly moved away from the spirits, but we are moving to other spirits, because we are in a very... special bit of the forest, shall we say.
That's not a wolf track.
It's definitely not a wolf track.
What a beautiful place.
It's gorgeous.
It's kind of like what they wanted to bring back in Nausicaa, honestly. Would you say that this film airs more towards Nausicaa or Pompoko in terms of its environmental message?
It airs far more towards Nausicaa in the grand scheme of things. And it's all the better for it. I would say that Princess Mononoke does the environmental message of Nausicaa far better than Nausicaa did.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the way Nausicaa tried to present it got a little bit lost in the confusion of the world that they were building. Whereas I think here, because it's very much grounded in Japan in the Muromachi period, which is like medieval to Renaissance Japan, so mid-1300s to mid-1500s and so on, it's... because it's grounded in that element of reality, it's able to present its environmental ideas in a much more consistent way, because you're not going, I'm not quite sure what the parts of this world are, I don't know how this has come to pass. You get it. So it's able to spring from that point into, this is what the message of the film is.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he's an audience surrogate, this lad.
I think so. I believe that... I'm going to say I think that this guy is called Kuroku, and he's voiced by John Demeter.
Name rings a bell.
Most recognises the voice of Dosu Kinuta in Naruto. He's also Kaz in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.
Oh.
And I'm just seeing if there's anything else in here that, and go, yes, oh, he's the voice of Nagi in Xenoblade Chronicles X.
That's still in its wrapping. I have not opened it, and I don't really plan to.
Well, you see, you're preparing yourself for Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Fuck yes, buddy. I'm so glad that's turning out to be better than it was originally shown to be, because I was a little bit down on it, but it's looking better and better.
I have to say, with the Nintendo Switch, so many of its games, like, sometimes they were initially revealed and you just go, not 100% sure, but then they've just gotten better and better and better. I mean, even Fire Emblem Warriors, which I was excited for, and then I thought, oh no, this isn't looking quite as good. Turned out to actually probably be one of the better Dynasty Warriors style games released in a long time. It did very well critically, which was like, bloody hell.
Did you ever play Hyrule Warriors, mate?
Yes, I did. I really enjoyed Hyrule Warriors, so I'm planning at some point to play Fire Emblem Warriors, but that'll happen at some point down the line.
That's John DiMaggio's character. It's so obvious.
Yes, that is Gonza, Lady Eboshi's bodyguard.
That's some great animation right there.
Oh yeah.
A protagonist, we must not let him in.
I mean, the guy is certainly not wrong on that point, is he?
No. But, yeah, there we go.
Ah, this character's awesome. So yeah, this is Toki, I think, who is Kuroku's wife, who, funnily enough, used to be a former prostitute. So apparently it's an important piece of information on the Wikipedia page, but she is voiced by Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh, okay.
Who has obviously been in lots of films and is very much her own actress, but obviously a lot of people would connect her to being part of the Smith clan along with Will Smith and their kids, Jaden and Willow. They are the Smith clan. But yeah, Toki is a pretty fun character in this film. I would say that she's probably the closest you're going to get to comic relief, her and Kuroku, but it's more natural charm and humour in a world that very commonly seeks to cause destruction, shall we say.
Yeah.
And also it's a natural bouncing off point for the very cold Lady Eboshi.
So now we're seeing the other side of the conflict, I suppose.
Yes, you're seeing the cause of Irontown, the people who live here and are trying to make their way in the world and make a better place for themselves. Unfortunately, as you can probably guess, it comes at the cost of the forest. And that's effectively where the main conflict of the film arises. Because, really, who do you side with?
Banter. Trying to have dinner over here, do you mind? Really, this is a film of multiple sides. The men versus the women, the wolves versus the humans versus the trees.
Yeah, pretty much.
I expected this to be a drier movie, because I think we tapped out like roughly 30 minutes in all the other times, and it was starting to get a little bit, but the energy seems to have like gone up a little bit again.
If you look at the way Princess Mononoke is structured, and this is going purely off of memory, and as you can probably tell, a lot of the time my memory on these types of things isn't necessarily the strongest thing in the world. But you've maybe got about half-hour chunks, I suppose, throughout the film. You've got the first bit of getting to know the world that you're inhabiting with Ashitaka and the areas that he is perhaps slightly more comfortable and familiar with. And then you move into this section in Irontown where he's getting to know the people here and their cause and what they're about. And then it's going to flip around to see another side and keep going like that, really.
No, I'm not really impressed by that, no.
Yeah, the boars are pissed.
Well, their deity, question mark, is dead, corrupted by worms and whatnot.
Yeah, they're furious.
Oh, is this a flashback?
I believe actually it might be to show ultimately what happened to Nargo.
So I'm an uncultured player, but if the screen doesn't go black and white and have wavy lines around the outside, I just can't tell.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I'm blabbering a lot. Less rambling than I have been doing in previous takes of this commentary.
Good, good.
But still blabbering a little bit. And that just means that I'm not necessarily paying attention to when we go into a flashback, so I look to the screen and just go, oh wait, where are we again? Oh, it's gone. Oh, never mind.
Ah, so they did it.
Yep. They are the reason that Ashitaka is cursed.
That's a very familiar line, and I'm pretty sure I've heard it in other things besides Mononoke before.
Probably have. I mean, it is a pretty common theme in a lot of films and stories, really, because, I mean, even if you look at Star Wars, I mean, because I don't know whether we've brought it up so far in this commentary, but it's sort of on my brain at the minute, because obviously Last Jedi is coming out relatively soon, / will already be out by the time this commentary goes out, but And you've got the anger leads to hate, hate leads to fear leads to suffering, or whatever the hell the line is from Yoda. And the reason that people get screwed over in the Star Wars universe is because they give in to that hate. And their vision's clouded by it, and that screws them over. So if you see something unclouded by hate, then you're actually getting a much clearer perspective on things. And that's very important for this film as well, because Ashitaka is ultimately the outsider in this war that is occurring. And so he's very much outside of it and is ultimately going to be able to see things clearer.
Hello, outsider. Nice to meet you. Huh. Very interesting to have, like, these colonial era weapons in this sort of time. Although I suppose, I don't know, did Japan have firearms at this point in history?
I believe so, yes. Because if you're dealing with the Muromachi period, which ends about 1573,
Ah.
I believe that you would probably have firearms towards the end of that. Because I think, oh god, you're testing my history there, and it's not that good. I'm pretty sure that most firearms tended to start to come in around the 1500s. So it would be about right.
Huh. So the arm can actually control him. Interesting.
Yes, well, it is a demon cursed arm, so there's only so much that you can do to stop it doing these sorts of things.
He wanted the blood of the kind of innocent?
Well, it's more it wanted the blood of the person who caused the mess.
So are they also victims of corruption?
Yes, but they are victims of leprosy, which it's one of those illnesses that a lot of people have perhaps heard about but don't really know much about at all. But I mean, there is actually a full article on Wikipedia about leprosy in Japan. So even though it is sort of, well, it is dying out now, because I think as of 2009, there were 2,600 former leprosy patients living in 13 national sanatoriums and 2 private hospitals, with a mean age of 80. But there's been no newly diagnosed Japanese leprosy patients in 2005, since 2005, bar one in 2006 and 2007. So I think it did have quite an impact in the past, and did kill quite a number of people, but it introduces a very interesting thread to the film because it deals with disability in a way that actually so many films and stories don't, because these people are disabled, but they aren't they aren't not human because of their disability.
Yeah.
They are just hurt, and the idea that drives Lady Eboshi is to try and help the people afflicted by this disease. In a way, that gives Lady Eboshi that whole thing of a hero complex, I suppose, because she wants to make things better for her poor lepers and wants to create a town where these previous prostitutes can live and everyone is respected in a way. But in going for that goal, she's still creating a hierarchy that supports the stigmatization of those lepers and prostitutes, and so it's very complex.
Jeez.
Yep.
kind of interesting seeing a woman's workforce in a movie. Can't think of many other things other than like fucking dinner ladies, like that comedy TV
Yeah,
show with Victoria Wood that kind of displayed that sort of thing. It's cool to see.
I think Princess Mononoke is actually a really progressive film for the late 1990s, because you've got that whole thing of a women's workforce, you've got the Princess Mononoke character here, who I don't know whether she's still been given a name or not, but she's obviously very important. You've got the whole thing with the gods. It's fascinating, and I do really appreciate it because it's just very well done.
She has been named, by the way. The lady
Has
was
she?
talking about her by name.
Oh yes, she's called San.
Well, no, not that, just Princess Mononoke. But if her real name is San, that's neat.
Obviously, with names, they all mean something. I mean, Ashitaka literally translates to leap, which is obviously quite fitting because he's had to leap into this world. Whereas San translates to three, which fits in a way because of obviously the three wolves who are her family.
Mate, you've got no chance against the Wolf Princess, alright? I love the way action is animated in this.
It's so good.
To be fair, San has every reason to want the lady dead, but, you know, the main theme of the movie is don't take revenge, don't give in to hatred, etc., I suppose.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily don't take revenge. It's really more there's give and take on every side. There is a general moral grey area over a lot of stuff, and it's difficult to process a lot of that.
So the Triforce on the kimono back there, by the way. I know, it's like a royal symbol in Japan.
Ah, I finally now see where that piece of information about the story or legend of Ashitaka is. Oh, I was looking at the wrong bloody Wikipedia page for it.
Ugh, what do you like?
Oh, you see, this is what... Normally I just have one Wikipedia page up, but this time I thought, you know what, I'll go a little bit different. I'll have two. Bad move.
Let's see who will win. A town full of people with pseudo guns, or one warrior wolf princess with a knife. Definitely one of the cooler Ghibli characters so far is the princess.
God, yeah, she's awesome. You've not necessarily seen much of it yet, but her and Ashitaka have a really good relationship throughout the film. It's great.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't really understand that myself. If the head is on the floor, it can't bite anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a slightly mixed metaphor that doesn't actually make any sense, but oh well, they want to go for it, let them.
Jeez.
Yeah, thank God she had that mask, otherwise that would not be good for her.
Jeez. So much for that fleet of bodyguards. I'm sure Mononoke is a great fighter, but she's a wolf fighting a bear? Question mark? Not really sure where I was going with that, but the lady is trained and precise.
Yes.
And Mononoke is rage.
Yes.
Brutal. But you will be much worse. Rip and tear until the movie is done.
Well, I mean, with his demon limb, it certainly was not surprising that he would be the one to rip and tear the hell out of everyone.
This is very cool. I didn't think it was going to go down this angle. Whoa. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why you don't want to be biting down on an arm like that, because it's not going to taste very good, and probably isn't going to do you very good either.
Oh. Tell you what, I'll just take both these wenches and all our problems will be over. Peace.
I mean, it's certainly one way to shut them both up, isn't it?
Okay, fine, you can have this one, but I'm keeping the title of the movie. It's just not done otherwise.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, to be fair, they just kill her anyway, so it's better to, keep her alive for the rest of the movie. Yeah, as if you're gonna fire on the guy who just had demon snakes flying out of his arms.
Oh.
Thankfully, demon curses tend to allow you to survive things that you should probably die from.
This is becoming more and more like Shadow of the Colossus with every passing minute, really.
For God's sake, this is Princess Mononoke, it's not Shadow of the bloody Colossus. I know it's a brilliant game, I will play it when it comes to, the PS4 remake, but it's Princess Mononoke, goddammit.
Well, tell that to you, Ada, then. I'm not the one taking inspiration from Ghibli films.
It's true.
And they say the village talked about this for at least 5 nights and then promptly got bored and went back to soliciting whores and eating rice.
Basically, although I'm sure it probably didn't quite end up happening like that, because you'd kind of be slightly freaked out by this sort of occurrence. Your leader gets nearly assassinated by a crazed girl who lives with wolves, and then a guy with a demon arm comes and stops it and gets shot in the chest, and then manages to move a gate that really shouldn't be able to be moved, because, yay!
Whoa.
Yeah, that demon arm is really coming in handy.
Why do we want to cure this again? Seems pretty cool so far.
Because ultimately it is killing him.
Well, I mean, you can't get anything for free in this life, Richie. There's got to be a trade-off.
It's true, but really, would you prefer death to keeping your superpowers?
Kind of prefer to not die and keep the superpowers, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I slightly butchered that question, but you got the gist of it, didn't you?
Thankfully, I'm so stupid. I just heard the words I wanted to hear, so it's all good.
Well, I think you heard the words you needed to hear rather than what was actually said, because it was pretty butchered. You see, I was seeing wolves and just going, Okami.
Still gonna pick up Akami HD, by the way. I think it's time.
Yes, and I'm also picking up Okami HD, even though I've already played it twice.
Well, I mean, it may end up becoming the definitive version of it, because, optional motion controls, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It looks the best out of all of them, I have to say.
Oh yeah, yeah, I think it probably will end up being the definitive edition, unless they don't put in Reset as the credits music. But we'll see.
You realise you're human, right, son?
Yeah, but she's been brought up by wolves, so she doesn't necessarily see herself as fully human, so...
Well.
She's effectively like Tarzan in that respect.
No! Not love! None of that! Okay, the wolf can talk. I don't know why I was surprised by that, because the boar at the beginning could, and I was wondering why San could speak so fluently. Makes sense, no?
Yeah, it's because the wolves can talk. All the gods can talk, because they're awesome.
Hmm. Oh, I think they may have been corrupted as well. Red eyes take warning.
Yeah, they're a bit creepy, aren't they? And actually, I mean, looking at the ape tribe here, it is reminding me very much of the way monkeys and stuff are presented in Rudyard Kipling's original The Jungle Book.
Uh-huh.
Because the monkeys are the one creature of the jungle that is not part of the order of the jungle. They are very much outside of it. They don't follow its rules, and they're just generally assholes that are looked down upon and just like to stir up trouble. And it's reminded me of that, really.
I'm kind of interested to see if we'll get an origin story from Mononoke. That'd be pretty cool.
I can't remember whether we get much of a full-on backstory for San, but I'm just looking forward to when we meet the wolf mother, because she's got a pretty amazing voice actress. So if I haven't already, I think I have, I'm not sure, but either way, San is voiced by Claire Danes. Have I mentioned this before?
Yes, you have.
Okay, good. You see, this is what happens when you do numerous takes of a film. You're just like, which take was that in that I said that? Have I said it in this one yet?
This is purifying water, is that what this is?
Well, yes, it's the spirit forest water stuff, and obviously in this very hallowed part of the forest, there are powerful medicinal plants that will help out a lot. Apparently even enough to stop a massive hole in somebody's chest. The magic of nature, I suppose.
I'll just stay here, I guess. Elk's having a bath tonight, lads. This is one of Hisaishi's best scores so far, I think.
Oh god, yes. I think... So, the score that I think I always go to of Hisaishi's is definitely Howl's Moving Castle. Because its main theme is just... It's stunning and iconic, and it's the one that I think I would always be able to go to and say, this is the Howl's Moving Castle theme. The others, less so, but listening to it, I can just hear the strains, and it's just like, yes, I am back home with the glorious music of Hisaishi, and I am loving it.
Well, guess the show's over. We'll be going now.
I mean, also, really, they're I don't know whether they're going to bed, but they're going to the top of the tree, because that's where they need to be right now.
Huh. Kind of reminds me of the Punies from Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door.
Forest sprites, they're very common.
Oh, wow. I guess gods come in all kinds of shapes and sizes.
They do indeed.
Okay, that's slightly creepy.
I mean, this thing is slightly terrifying.
I don't know. It's awesome in the most base sense of the word, as in you're awestruck by it. But I don't know whether that counts as, like, evil or menacing. I was wondering when we'd see him again.
Well, obviously he was going to turn up at some point, and really this is the point where we're going to begin to see that Jigo is a very complex character, to say the least.
Oh. Now, was that done in advance? Are they trying to kill the spirit?
They are indeed. They're trying to get the forest spirit's head.
Whee! Oh, they're loving that shit.
Of course, they're just adorable and having fun.
Right, Xerdius, let's take a look at you.
This is the ancient forest spirit, and yes, he's kind of funny looking.
A little bit. He's got kind of an ape-like face.
Yes, and you know what's actually kind of hilarious? I can't remember which fake Pokemon game it is, but one of them, and it's actually quite a famous one. Ah yes, Pokemon Jade version.
Yes.
It has, effectively, that on its front cover, because that's where they got the idea from. Because obviously people can't be creative with their fakes these days. But this is the Shishigami. That's obviously one of the words that got translated into a more English word for the dub, because you hear the word Shishigami, you just think, what on earth does that mean?
Yeah, is that a type of sushi?
No, it literally translates to forest spirit, because you've got the Gami, which is spirit, and the Shishi, which is forest, I would assume. But basically, at sunset, Shishigami becomes Dai Dalabochi, which is translated as Night Walker in the English version. So you've got that whole thing going on. And also, here we have another boar god.
Kind of interesting to have more than one of the same type of god.
Well, of course, but you've got whole cultures of these gods existing around each other and coming into contact with each other.
Do we ever learn how, like, one can become a god?
No.
Yeah. It's fine, I guess.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you are or are not.
That kiss it better. Mwah. There you go. Wake up, lad. Still got another hour of movie to go.
And you're the one who's telling me off for counting things down.
I did it in a funny way. I wasn't just rattling off the time, okay? Oh, me hole. It's feeling so much better.
Yeah, there is no hole there. Wow! That water must have been really good water.
The ever faithful.
Yeah, the elk is pretty awesome. I think his name is Yaku, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, yes, Yakul. Yes. And what's actually kind of funny is that he's called a red elk, but he's apparently more similar to a red lekwe or lechwe or something, which is a type of antelope that comes from South Central Africa, which is kind of funny, but
Puts me in mind of the Ordon goats from Twilight Princess a little bit. I'm sorry to keep going back to that, but I'm pretty sure Mononoke was actually an influence for Twilight Princess.
well, it would have been an influence for a lot of stuff, but also, obviously, Japanese culture would have influenced them all kind of separately in a way. You've got that whole thing of a monomyth where things originate from, and that would be pretty much a similar route.
Of course, Twilight Princess has, like, the spirits of light, and what is the first one? It's a giant goat.
Exactly, yes.
Son, what are we eating exactly?
Some sort of jerky, and obviously Ashitaka's not strong enough to chew it by himself, so she's having to chew it for him and feed him.
It's their way, Tom. It's their way.
Well, it's effectively how mother and father birds feed their kids, so
I know, Richie. I'm not that sheltered. This is so beautiful. So pure. Giant wolf, out for a stroll. It's fun.
I believe we're going to have a little bit of a confrontation right now.
Yeah, this is our territory, pig fucker.
And now we finally get to hear the voice of Moro properly. And Moro is voiced by the amazing Gillian Anderson. Obviously most well known for being FBI Special Agent Dana Scully in The X-Files. And obviously just generally being awesome in everything.
Huh. Oh, What a poignant way to address your own death.
Well, of course. I mean, if you're a god, then you look at these things and just think, well, I've lived a very long time. I've lived my time. It's actually what I think does tend to happen to a lot of people as they get older. As soon as you start to get into your 70s and 80s, you kind of think, well, I've lived my life now. I'm not that scared of death as I used to be.
Let the pig god have a word here.
Yes, a very important bull who will listen to reason because he's voiced by Keith David.
Oh, yes! Yep, that's a human aura.
And also, that is definitely a boar snout. I think I would slightly freak out at touching that, if I'm honest, but once again, clean freak here. Just
Yep.
I like animals, but I don't necessarily deal well with them because I'm constantly washing my hands.
Teaching through history is one way to win a battle, I suppose.
It is, but then you're all dead, so you've not exactly gained anything.
We sure showed them! So is the forest spirit a god above gods or something?
In a way, yes. I believe it's in part because the forest spirit is fully one with nature and is. So it's part of it. So if nature is affected, then it is as well. Whereas the other gods, i.e., the wolf gods and so on and so forth, and the boar gods, they live within the world and aren't necessarily powered or depowered by it, so it's that sort of difference in relationship.
Christ on a bike. All it took was guns to turn it into a one-sided battle.
Yeah, and you see, I told you this film was dark.
So he has his own faction.
Basically, yes. And obviously, he also has his own goals in the grand scheme of things. Everybody wants something different out of this war, and nobody is exactly right in it.
It's the watermelon tribe.
No, it's the samurai of sorts.
Ah, the samurai.
So basically, the other whatever his name is, he's a daimyo, which is a powerful Japanese feudal lord. Ruled most of Japan during their greatest period, and that came from their vast hereditary land holdings. So basically think of them like what lords and ladies in the UK used to be. They were the people who owned vast swathes of land. But obviously, because they were powerful, and obviously it was Japan, they ended up having their samurai soldiers and warriors beneath them.
I'm still trying to figure out why they want the forest spirit exactly. Do they think all the other gods will keel over if that thing's dead?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure what they want in this. I think the idea is that having the head of the forest spirit is a kind of great prize that they can present to the Emperor of Japan. And basically, Eboshi's idea of doing this is that it will then give her protection from the local daimyo. But also, as Eboshi's just saying here, the forest spirit's head apparently grants immortality. And obviously giving that to the Emperor of Japan, very good thing for a bit of a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Tends to go down well with that sort of folk.
A never-ending dynasty.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was pretty rad actually. Like, had a fight and everything.
Yeah, there were demon snakes, and I nearly got killed, but it was all in a day's work, really.
Yeah, protect the homestead. Like, if every single one of them goes with her, who's left to protect this place? And the iron, which that other samurai wanted so badly, apparently.
Exactly. It's one of those things where sometimes you leave some of your stronger fighters at home because, especially if you're going into war, there's always the chance that your opponent will root you out and try and attack your base while you're away from it. And if obviously you're left with your weakest soldiers there, then they're not going to stand much of a chance, and then what the hell are you fighting for?
Who's playing that music? Ah, it's corrupting me.
I have to say, I listen to it and my brain immediately goes to things like Siteki Dane from Final Fantasy X. It's just that type of beautiful Japanese-inspired music that plays over a moment that has strong poignancy for a relationship between two characters.
Oh, yeah.
And they just have that similar sound, and I do actually really like it. And that is the eternal question, is it not?
Yeah, I think this is doing it for me a bit more than Nosuke and Pompoko so far, just in terms of the moral of the story. Everyone's fighting for what they want.
Yes.
In Nosuke, it was a little bit of a clusterfuck, and the environmental message came second, I want to say. Whereas Pompoko had it front and centre, but it was a bit sappy and sentimental.
Yeah, I mean, I think Roger Ebert, in his review of the dub, probably says it quite well, in that it is not a simplistic tale of good and evil, but the story of how humans, forest animals, and nature gods all fight for their share of the new emerging order. And I think that is pretty fitting. You also have Billy Crudup, who obviously voices Ashitaka, saying the movie was such an entirely different experience. It had a whole new sensibility I'd never seen in animation. It also has something profound to say, that there has to be a give and take between man and nature. One of the things that really impressed me is that Miyazaki shows life in all its multifaceted complexity, without the traditional perfect heroes and wicked villains. Even Lady Eboshi, who Ashitaka respects, is not so much evil as short-sighted. And that's something that Minnie Driver, who voices Lady Eboshi, also commented on, saying it's one of the most remarkable things about the film. Miyazaki gives a complete argument for both sides of the battle between technological achievement and our spiritual roots in the forest. He shows that good and evil, violence and peace exist in us all. It's all about how you harmonise it all. And yeah, I think that is part of the reason why this just feels much more accomplished in terms of getting across its point, because it presents the argument and says, I will let you decide for yourself what you think is best, but clearly there is no right answer, and whichever path you do choose to take, you're probably going to struggle to get it right. And you just got to do your best at striking that balance.
Graceful.
Well, I mean, there will be after you've been bonked out for weeks, apparently.
No, he thought it was weeks. He said it felt like weeks. It's probably like a
It's
couple
true.
of days.
Yeah, pretty much.
Follow me, human. It's time to collect some tears of light.
And actually, since we've hit a slightly quieter moment of the film, as we slowly but surely work our way to what is going to be a quite spectacular climax, I believe I have already slightly spoken about this story, but obviously Princess Mononoke was extremely successful in Japan and when it came out, and eventually became very successful with both anime fans and art house moviegoers in English-speaking countries. When the original dub was done, it was distributed by Miramax Films, which was then a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company. And Harvey Weinstein, of very complex, infamous fame, was then Miramax's chairman, and he demanded that edits should be made to Princess Mononoke. And in response, Toshio Suzuki sent Weinstein a katana with a message stating no cuts.
Yeah, we've told the story before.
Yes, and as a result, nothing was cut from Princess Mononoke, and I'm pretty sure that ever since Princess Mononoke, there are no Ghibli films that have faced the knife in their translation into Western release, and I feel that that is always the best way to go, because even though you can end up with difficult things to localize, someone's art form, it's someone's art that they've created, and every bit of it has meaning. And to remove a bit of that will always adversely affect the thing that you have created. I mean, I think originally the dub of the film was criticised a little bit, but it has gone on to be seen as probably one of the best dubs that have been done for a Ghibli film.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine so far.
Yeah. And also, initially, Princess Mononoke didn't do very well in the West, because even though Miramax put a lot of money into creating the dub with lots of famous actors and actresses, they only released it in a limited number of theatres with little to no advertising. And Disney then did complain that it didn't do very well at the box office. But when they went on to release it on DVD, and listened to fans' requests to add the original Japanese dub, they actually managed to do very well in the West, and that is part of what led to the film doing as well as it did, because it had that sort of, I think, word of mouth situation that just works incredibly well.
Alright, so the balls are being lowered. Kind of a silly sentence to say, but it seems to be working so far. Oh my god, they're actually painting themselves with war paint. That is just mud, I guess.
And we are very quickly, even though there's still a lot of the film left, we are going up to the climactic sequence of the film, and it's quite spectacular.
We'll say I like how quickly it escalated, and it felt very natural.
Oh yeah.
Like the film didn't really like, I don't know, have any dick waving things where it's just like, hey, look how deep and poetic we are. Now let's get their side of the thing, and I'll cut back to there, and we'll just keep going back and forth. No, it's, do you want to do this? Yes. Here we go.
Yeah, it's presented in a way that is very much from the perspective of the key players, but it doesn't overemphasize its environmental messages.
Navel gazing, that's the term, yeah.
Yeah, but it spends just enough time with them to serve the plot, so you get enough to carry the story along and develop the characters and their motivations, but it's not so much that you're suddenly just going, can we just, move on with the story, rather than, yes, navel-gazing to the point of just going, you what? Which is basically what Pompoko did.
Yeah, I don't think it's time to leave yet. Ashitaka, gotta go back.
Yes, because, as he might have realised, he kind of does like San a little bit. And also, he can't let her die in this fight. And also, he can't let people be such incredible assholes to everyone.
Yeah, elks can jump. Pretty well, actually.
And thankfully, they can also swim, which is very helpful.
Now, mate, get that weak shit out of here.
I do like that guy was going to try and shoot a bow, and it's just like, mate, you are not going to hit him from that distance.
I can try. What's one more wasted arrow? It's a bit like Dynasty Warriors, where you try and find an alternate route to get into the enemy's stronghold. Like, they'll never suspect me coming in by water via elk.
Yeah, but obviously they're kind of getting a little bit attacked by that daimyo, so they kind of need a little bit of help.
How about a demon arm? Works every time. Sorry, can't hear a word you guys were saying. Can you repeat that?
Also, they kind of just said forest spirit, kill. I've kind of stopped paying attention at that point and gone, oh, shit.
Thanks for my 3 arrows, it looks like. You kind of restocked the quiver?
Well, I'm sure 3 will do perfectly fine. We've got a magical demon arm, and as long as you just yank the arrow out of whatever you've shot to kill, you can reuse them.
I guess, but wouldn't the barb, or whatever, the point, be, like, dented and whatnot?
Depends on what it hit.
True. Okay, was that just like a signal arrow or something?
Not sure.
Because it whistled, so...
It whistled. I thought it was going to explode, but
yeah.
then it did not. Clearly, these guys don't realise that the element of surprise can be incredibly helpful in a battle.
They're samurai. Honourable, not particularly strategic, it seems.
Well, these ones certainly aren't, are they?
Okay. Just had to prance on the spot for a minute and get a bit of a run-up. Very rocky terrain here.
Well, yes, but also it was the gotta try and figure out where the hell I'm going type dealio, and, yeah, that certainly don't look pretty.
Oh, you bastards, you will pay for this! Oh, the irony. Okay, now you're gonna pay for 2 things. Number 1, my elk. Number 2, my hat. Demon powers activate!
You see? That's what you get for hurting my ally in this. You die. Horrendously.
Oh, you guys want some too? Why is that so funny? Maybe it's just the sun way it happens.
It's probably because normally you don't necessarily see a lot of people get their heads shot with an arrow and it blow off.
No, I'm coming. Partners till the end, till the credits even.
Exactly.
Jeez, they raised this place pretty much to the ground.
Yes.
Oh no, but what about the god? What about Keith David? Keith David can't die.
He might not necessarily be dead yet, but certainly not going to come out of this smelling of roses, let's put it that way. And they certainly didn't either.
Somehow I doubt that.
I too doubt it very much.
Oh, Irontown's going to lose all its popularity to Copperville. We can't let that happen.
No, I think the Irontown people are basically going to have a little bit of an uprising here and just go, "Oi! That's our town, dick. We're going to go rescue it, thank you kindly."
Not sure how I feel about these bounty hunters.
I know, they're just assholes really, aren't they?
Jeez.
Yes. Nobody wins in war.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
Just about, really, isn't he? He's trying to rescue the wolf, is it not obvious? Trying to save the wolf, is it not obvious?
There you go.
Finally.
An unlikely partnership.
Yes. Also, I have to say, your call is best elk.
Although I keep hearing his name is Yakult.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I don't like how quiet everything is. It's giving me a really nasty sense of dread.
That was kind of the entire point, because it's that moment in the film where just nothing is looking good right now. The war is clearly just going disastrously for pretty much everyone. The only thing that seems to be going well is that they're making their way to where the forest spirit is and they might succeed, and yeah, that's probably not going to end well for anybody.
Oh, God.
Makoto did not really come off that well from that fight at all. Neither did Moro, really.
So they're fucking monkeys again.
Yeah.
spirits? The forest must be pissed at this point.
Pretty much, yeah. It's not going to be very impressed whatsoever. And yeah, that's definitely not good. Yeah, about that.
Yeah, he's smelling the pigs, but I don't think it's the pigs that are actually there.
Very obviously, they are no longer the boars. And actually, that's a pretty horrifying sight. The fact that they've skinned the boars to be able to break into where the forest spirit lies. Just makes you feel gross.
Against all of this, really? Oink oink, we are but simple pigs. How do you do, fellow boars?
They are doing a very good job of pretending to be boars, apart from, the completely dead eyes that just not present whatsoever.
Ugh.
Yeah, also, this is pretty much where you're going to see probably more blood than you've seen throughout the rest of the film, really, because also, look! More demon snakes! And yeah, that guy is clearly the villain of the film.
Seriously, you don't attack the title of the movie, okay? It's just not done. Now, we haven't seen the corruption from day one here, so, ugh.
Well, we're certainly getting to see it now.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that corruption really does take over you quickly.
Oh, yeah, new mount get.
I think one of the things I've noticed doing this commentary is that there's a lot of time where we're sitting there not saying a whole lot, and that is because we're just watching the movie, and it's because you get to this point in the film, and you just end up being transfixed by it. Like, you just want to watch it and see what happens, even though I know what happens, it's still really engaging just to watch, and I'm loving going through this again.
I mean, there's the whole thing about, talking about not having a lot to talk about, but I've also kind of gotten to the point where if there's nothing to say, just don't say anything.
Yeah.
You're not paying for these commentaries, you're not paying by the word. I'm doing my best to commentate and I'm enjoying the movie, so...
Exactly.
Unless, of course, we're talking about Patreon commentating, in which case, bitch all you want, then you're paying for the right to bitch, so... Now, onwards, to slaughter the great beast. I am a good guy, question mark.
Pretty much, yes.
Huh.
Yeah, you start off the film thinking, oh, I kind of like Chico, he's quite funny, and now you're just like, oh my god, you absolute dick, you are awful.
So it's less a case of good versus evil, and like good versus assholes, really.
In a way, yes. That would be one description of it.
What they're doing isn't good or beneficial to the hero of the story, but they're not strictly villains either.
Yes, they're out for their own good, really. I mean, he's definitely right there, because obviously the forest spirit sort of likes him. He healed him somewhat.
Yeah? I think that was ball for no.
Well, I think it's more ball for, I can't speak anymore, I don't know what the hell I'm saying, I just want to kill. I don't think he'll be the one who ruins everything. I think the wolves are going to get in on the fray a bit more, you know?
Just imagine the parents who, upon taking their, 5-year-olds to see a new Ghibli film, were greeted with this scene.
I don't think they would have been able to, because I'm pretty... Well, actually, I don't know what rating Princess Mononoke is. I'm going to find that out.
It's okay, kids. It's just red licorice. It's okay.
Yes. So apparently, I think it has a PG-13. Yes. Although in the UK it is a PG, because obviously here in the UK we can deal with slightly more complex and slightly darker ideas at a younger age, apparently.
Yeah, let's go with that. There it is. No, what's all this then? Yeah, I can walk on water. That's the thing the spirits do.
Of course. Especially when they are spirits of the forest. I have to say, I really can't see this ending well for anybody.
No, not really. Oh, Super Saiyan moment. Jesus. Oh, you really shouldn't all have done that.
You really should not have done that.
So is he capable of decorrupting gods, the forest spirit?
Not really. However, as you may perhaps have guessed, he does have power over life. And by life, that does include the beginning and the end of it.
Of course. Oh. Well, looks like it's my time to get big again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's already, like, in super god mode. It's like, oh shit. Well, there goes that plan, I guess.
Yeah, although I have to say, probably the stupidest move attacking a god whilst it is in the middle of a transformation. Because that never ends well for anybody.
Surprise. Your god is now the forest. Oh my god. Blew up like a pinata.
And that really was not a good move.
Oh.
Yeah, really was not a good idea.
So was he corruption in a goat suit?
So, the forest spirit, ultimately, is the spirit of the forest, both its life and its death. And when harmed, it is not going to react well to that. Because effectively what's happening now is it's bleeding and killing everything that gets in its way, because it can't face this.
Jesus. That kind of took me by surprise, honestly.
Well, I suppose that was certainly a good instance of a wolf still being able to fight when it's just ahead.
Yeah, well, I guess it wasn't a very good metaphor afterwards.
Yeah, so you see, while the necklace wasn't necessarily a Chekhov's gun, that metaphor was.
Well, don't count your Chekhov's guns before they're fired, if you will. That still hasn't come into effect yet. It wasn't passed to Mononoke for nothing.
Yeah, doesn't really have much importance in the grand scheme of things. The best way you can see it is as, obviously, I think it was Ashitaka's sister gave it to him, and he kept it with him as a good luck charm.
Okay.
And then San kept it with her because obviously she'd had a good connection with Ashitaka. And it's, think of it like that sort of good luck charm type thing.
God, look at the corruption spread all over his body. I think I'm seeing where Season 2 of Korra got its storyline as well with the Dark Spirits. It's very obvious comparisons. No, I'm Wolfkin! There you go. Bit of a hug. That's what you need.
Well, exactly, and also, you stabbed me, but it doesn't really hurt because I'm just filled with corruption now, so I'll give you a hug anyway because that's what we all need right now when the world is going to shit.
I'm just gonna get up here and corrupt the rest of the world. That's what you get for shooting my head off, you cunt.
Exactly. This is what everyone deserves for that sort of thing.
This music is completely on point right now.
Oh, hell yeah! I mean, it's Joe Hisaishi. He always kills it. Yeah, you should probably give it back. Might actually sort out this whole mess.
I see. So the forest spirit is a true immortal in that it can be killed, but it can be brought back as well.
Well, of course, it's a god. And also, a god of nature, and those tend to be really stupidly powerful.
Yeah. Or it's an elemental force, really.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I mean, they probably will be marching over the hill, but not in the fashion you were expecting.
Probably in a funeral procession.
Well, not even that. More, there's a big forest death god coming to murder everybody. Might want to watch out for that one.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, they ain't gonna stand a chance, and they all deserve this hideous death that just comes instantaneously, because why the hell not?
Nice touch of the giant spirit having no head.
Well, you'd expect that because, the head kind of got chopped off.
Say, because it's symbolic of how he died and whatnot. Come on, Rich.
It's far more literal than that.
Whatever.
It's literally, he got decapitated and therefore, as this beast, he has no head.
People love to stop and give speeches in this movie. I just like to imagine them getting covered in goo, like in the middle of it.
Well, I mean, he very nearly did, but thankfully he managed to get away before that.
I'm coming for you, Irontown. Let's see how Copperville feels about you after this.
I don't think Copperville's going to have much competition after this.
Thank you for going with that incredibly stupid and lame joke, by the way.
Well, we're like 2 hours in. Like, I'm just happy because I love this film, so I don't even care anymore.
We are watching this for our own amusement as well as trying to entertain you all, so hopefully you've been having a good time so far. We are halfway through the Ghiblithon right now, actually.
Exactly. And
pretty good film to mark the halfway mark as well.
Oh, hell yeah. And I would say that pretty much from this point onwards, you're dealing with some of the best of Ghibli. Like, My Neighbours the Amateurs is a weird one in the canon, but like so many of the next batch of films are just brilliant.
Alright, Tom, you've come to the pivotal moment in the film. Whatever you do, don't make a please give me head joke. Oh, son of a bitch! Couldn't resist, sorry.
For God's sake, Tom, now you've made me have a giggle fit. Big climactic moment of the film. I'm just going to be pissing myself laughing. Oh, breathe. Oh, okay, there we go. That thankfully killed the mood there and made the mood properly there. I'm going to kill you.
I wasn't expecting Chigo to be so light on his feet, honestly, but then again, he does lead this band of bounty hunters, so...
Yeah, and also he's able to walk surprisingly quickly in those kind of ridiculously high sandals, so... It's pretty amazing in that respect.
No, yeah.
Yeah, he dead.
Alright, fine, but only because I was gonna die. Pickled forest spirit head.
Yeah, it must taste pretty nice, but I'd rather just give it back to the forest spirit because it's much more helpful. Please? We don't want everybody to die. It would be really bad and stuff.
Considering it. Considering it. Still considering it, don't be impatient now. Sure, why not? The men! Hooray! I don't know any of their names. They're just the men.
Well, yeah, that's about as important as they are to this film in the grand scheme of things.
It does feel good to have a head again. I've got to say, whenever my head gets lopped off, it doesn't nearly attach as easily back like this one did.
No, but then, really, your head isn't necessarily made of life goo. I mean, it's got life goo running throughout it. It's what we call blood. But you've kind of got bones in there, and that kind of doesn't make it easy to reattach.
I ain't cleaning this up.
Yeah, it's just like, I hope you guys weren't needing any of that, but I kind of needed to do that to get rid of all corruption so that I could restore life to this place, because you guys clearly fucked it all up.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that was accidental and how much was just pure pettiness.
50-50 perhaps?
Here you go. Oh, it turned watercolour for a second there.
And once again, beautiful how... Well, pretty much whenever you get nature returning to a place, you just always end up with, like, the most stunning of shots and views. I mean, just look at that. It's just beautiful.
From this day forward, it shall no longer be Iron Town. It shall be Forest Town.
Exactly.
And may it never be on fire. Amen. Alright, you two, get up. It's a brand new day.
And you're no longer cursed. Success!
Woof, I mean, I'm okay. I'm alive. I've got a good feeling in my heart, Rich.
It's a beautiful ending, this. It's just gorgeous. It just fits into the entire scope of the film as well, because it's just mature in the way that it's presented, this, because nobody was wrong, but nobody was right, and in the end, just letting nature take its course was the best path forward for this place.
So he's not completely healed?
Mostly healed. I mean, I think that's basically just a scar that remains.
Okay. Medium distance relationship. I can live with it.
Yes, and in time, I'm sure that they will get much closer, and they'll be able to be together.
Alright, we're drawing to the end of this, Rich, so Princess Mononoke, if you will, please.
I love this film. Obviously, as I said, it has a very special place in my heart because it was the first proper anime film that I ever saw, and it's just really well done. It looks beautiful. It's got a gorgeous score, great dub. The story is amazing and presents its themes and ideas in just a very brilliant manner. So yeah, I have to give this like an A+. Love it so much.
Wow, A+. Let's see. Visually, some of Ghibli's best. Musically, some of Ghibli's best. I love how it told an environmental message without being preachy and pretentious. I don't think Nausicaa got that far, but I think its message was a bit underwhelming, especially when dealing with the two sides of the war and all that stuff. And there was a big monster in there somewhere, which I'm sure was a metaphor, but I don't know. And Pompoko did it way too preachily, but this was just right. I like the characters. Mononoke is great. Ashitaka's pretty fun. Jige, whatever the hell the drunk's name was. Jigo, I'm sorry, I'm an English gaijin. They were fun. Just like the visuals of the spirits and whatnot, from the tiny little ones to the giant forest spirit in God mode itself was great. I wouldn't say this touched me on the same level as Grave of the Fireflies, but I think it's a better made product overall than Nausicaa. So I'm going to give this an A. Not an A-, not an A+, an A.
Fair enough.
I enjoyed that quite a lot, and you did great, Rich. Commentary-wise, we got there in the end.
Finally!
I hope you took on board what I said, and that I wasn't just bitching at you for the sake of bitching. I try to be constructive with this stuff.
We'll see what happens in the next film, shall we?
Don't worry about it. That's 20 minutes shorter. So please join us next time for My Neighbours the Yamadas. See you then.